Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book, this big a show where it's about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about episode 11 of Tower of God. A lot of interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, obviously, Bomb meets with the administrator, and obviously he gets his A-OK for the test and everything. And so we find out what, like, the test actually is. And it's actually a really intricate and interesting, like, competition and game about, like, getting swallowed by that, the dolphin queen, rather than being swallowed by one of the worms. Because the goblin, like, that's what the, you know, and just, I like the structure of this game because it's a really interesting, game. They come up, tests. These are, interesting things that they create in this universe. But obviously, it's planned out, like, all right, like, Bomb and Rachel are going to basically be the bait. Well, they have to be swallowed. They have to be there, caught up in the little dolphins, has to be, like, caught up in their net, which those things are, like, super adorable. They create nets create a giant net from Shinsu to gather up all the fish and feed it to their queen. If Bomb and Rachel are inside of it, they win. But if they get swallowed by one of the worms that the goblins have, then they fail. And there's also, like, an ecosystem, too, because there's also, like, those, like, pig-like things, which I love. What's her name? Nare. It's like, oh, he kind of looks like Rock. Rock's like, what? Which I also love that he's back to his normal size. I forgot about that. I was like, oh, I guess Hong Sung-yu decided, like, I'm going to turn you back to normal. I was like, I didn't remember that. But, okay. You know, and that kind of makes this game very difficult. But even Leroy is pointing out the fact is, it is pretty interesting, director. You were able to put this together so quickly. It's like, oh yeah, like, you know, being prepared, you know, and stuff like that, yada, yada, yada. Leroy's like, yeah, there's no way you had this amount of preparation already prepared just in case. Because that would mean that you already knew that Bomb was already going to get the go-ahead. You knew that was a potentiality. It's like, we just found, like, this just all happened. It's like, you knew you were setting the stage and everything. Because obviously we end up finding out fake Hugo, or rather Ren, the royal enforcer, one of the royal enforcers, is this is part of his opportunity to go after a knock, because they're trying to, like, plan this all out, about, like, how they're going to, like, operate this. They're keeping an eye on the goblins and the worms, making sure that they don't eat and stuff like that. They're just trying to, like, obviously they can't see underground, so they're unclear, like, what's going on. So they can't tell, like, if the dolphins are making a net like they're supposed to. So it's a lot of interesting conversations going on. You have the one between Bomb and Rachel, where, you know, Bomb is just talking about how it's kind of exciting, you know, and he's putting on a bit of a brave face because he's like, right, I don't want to be scared because if I act scared, it's going to make you more anxious. And she's like, look at you trying to act all tough. But for him, you know, the administrator asked me, like, if I reached the top, like, what would I want to see? And I was like, first thought came to my mind was your face, and the second was the cafeteria. And she's like, cafeteria? He's like, yeah. Well, we all sat together and ate together. Like, that's, you know. And then the administrator was like, very well, and just let me, like, set this all in motion. But it's like, once again, showing you the two most important things for Bomb. Because that's the thing, because, like, from Shibisu brings up the fact is the reason why it's like, because Kun's like, right, you are, what was it he was saying? Right, you don't have to do this. Like, you know how much of a risk this was, but you were willing to take it for Bomb. Why? And he's like, it's something that Serena had said to him, like, when they were drinking last episode was, you know, it wasn't in the episode, but, you know, he gives the context of it of, like, Bomb, it has what all of them had before. Bomb is unlike them. In this tower, they're climbing me because they've lost everything important in them. Bomb still has what's important to him. And for Shibisu is like, I'm jealous of Bomb, but because of that, like, much like Kun, like, they all know the feeling of what it's like to lose what's most important to you, to lose everything. And it's like, I don't want Bomb to ever go through it. I don't want him to lose what's important to him. And he's like, oh, you're a good guy, Shibisu. And Shibisu is like, not as good as you, Kun. I think that context, because, I mean, it still works in the context of this, but I think it plays even more in the context of Kun kind of manipulating everyone into deciding to help Bomb. Whereas in this case, everyone in anime, that, like I said, I'm doubling down on. I'm pretty sure that's what happened to Bomb, was like he manipulated him. But it still doesn't change the fact Kun has done everything he can to make sure that Bomb succeeds and keeps moving forward. So Shibisu knows that more than anyone. So he's like, right, I recognize what you've done and what you do. Like, you're an even better guy than I am, going above and beyond for him like that. Obviously, like, Nare, her whole thing is being an animal. She's able to kind of control animals, and in particular sea creatures, but for her, it's like, it's never something that can be used offensively. She's like, yeah, plus guys don't like girls who show off. And he was like, Kun's like, wait, so what? Is that right, huh? Because he was almost like, wait, what? That's why she hasn't really shown off, because it's like, right, girls are supposed, I guess it's like, in her mind, it's like, girls can't show up guys too much, you know? So it's like, right, that's not, you know, guys don't like girls who show off too much or something. I guess it's kind of her mentality. But then that kind of gets him thinking. Kun's like, yeah, but like, would like any of the animals, including a bull, be able to be controlled? And she's like, not by someone like me, but someone of like a ranker status, sure. And he's like, yeah, right. And it's like, he pieced it together, like, something's off about all of this, especially because the bull showing up. I don't think they talked about it in the anime, but I think they brought it up in the manhwa that, like, the bull's not supposed to, like, the chances of the bull showing up aren't supposed to be slim. It's still a chance, but it's not, for it, like, it's just like, if you're lucky, it won't show up. If you're unlucky, but obviously our squad's unlucky. Obviously it takes out 2 of their fishermen or whatever, and now it's up to Shibitsu, and it's going after their dolphin pals, and he's like, alright, you know, it's like, come get me, I'm delicious, but it completely ignored him. And I love he grabs, you know, Serena's knife, and he's like, this is awesome, and he stabs it, but it kind of does nothing. But luckily, the 2 princesses show up, but sadly, they're not there to save him. They're too busy, like, it's a competition between them. They're, like, kicking their little feet. He's just like, hey, this ain't the time to be fighting. But it's like, they're going to be taking 5-minute turns. Whoever defeats the, I didn't even notice that horn. That's why she kept calling. Why I not kept calling her a horned princess. Like, I didn't get that. I was like, I didn't remember she had a horn, and like I just happened to see. It's like, oh, she has like a tiny little horn. Like, maybe she has one on both sides, but her hair just covers one up. But I never noticed it till this episode, because I kept being like, what's the horned princess thing about? I was like, oh, she legitimately has a horn. But you know, and Dorsey goes first against the bull. She's handling her own, you know, shows how good she is, even without a weapon, you know, her kicks and everything like that. She's doing her thing. But, like, I love a knock at one point when, and Dorsey gets caught. She's like, yeah. And then she breaks free. She's like, damn it. All right, it's been 4 minutes. You've got 1 minute. It's like, you know, she wants her chance, because if Dorsey wins, she gets both swords. And if she loses, she has to be a Nox servant. So a Nox all about putting her down a peg or two. So while they're dealing with the bull and everything, obviously the bull gets souped up from Ren, like, giving it power. So, and Dorsey ends up getting squeezed until she passes out, whereas a Nock goes toe-to-toe with Ren, who has her mother's necklace, because she remembers where that necklace was. She gave it to her mom. For him to have it means, because she was under the impression, like, the princesses came together to kill her mom, but it seems like Ren was at least there. If he wasn't, you know, if he wasn't the one that actually killed her, maybe part of the team that killed her, at the very least, he stole that off her body. And he's doing it just to piss her off. And even activating Green April, she still doesn't stand a chance against him. He has the advantage, and he ends up stabbing her. It'd be too easy just to straight up to kill her, so, you know, he's got to make an example of her. It's like, right, you're kind of, you know, that's why Hong Sung-yu was okay with all of this, because, like, right, my job is to make sure nothing, you know, as an enforcer for him, it's like, anything that's an enemy of jihad, that's me. You became an enemy the moment you were born. You weren't supposed to exist. And Han Sung-yu has the same thing. Like, anything that can be in harm to the tower, which includes Enoch, needs to be removed from the board, regardless of the circumstances. So, he's letting a lot of this play out when he shouldn't. Quant being the idiot he is, isn't catching on to any of this. Just all he is just impressed by the director's ability to have all this ready ahead of time. Once again, Leroy's not buying any of this, so. And Dorsey's being given an option. It's like, right, as a daughter of Jihad, as an official daughter of him, and kill this imposter, do your duty. Gives her Green Apron, and it's like, make mincemeat of Anak, you know? It's kind of your duty, it's what you're supposed to do, so. At the same time, they're supposed to wait for their opportunity to strike, but, Paracool, ends up accidentally saving Hotz. He's like, actually, I did it out of instinct. It's like, but I think it means a lot that he was willing to, like, back up Hotz. I mean, I think Hotz would have been able to quietly deal with that goblin, but Pericule doing what he did. Pericule, I keep saying his name differently every time, ends up doing what he did. It drew the attention of the worms and the goblins, so that kind of put a little, kind of screwed their plan up a little bit. But I also love, like, Nare getting Laru to work by stealing his blanket. He's like, you kidnapper. So, like, he's forced to actually kind of do some work, and he just can't sleep the entire time. But, so things are going a little sideways there. But at the same time, Bomb trusts everybody up there. He's like, yeah, they're stronger and smarter than us. And Rachel's like, you're right. You know, it's like, and then she's learning, it's like, right, you got, the princess gave you the Black March, and he's like, yeah, I am going to have to apologize to her and everything, though. And I think what's seeping into, like, Rachel's mind, at least now, I'm thinking, like, oh, like, wow, you are so fortunate. Look at the state I'm in, and look at all that you were able to get. You've got all these people who are willing to rally behind you, fight for you, and, you know, you were lucky. Like, what do I have at the end of the day? Kind of nothing, you know. Once again, it starts creeping in. You should also take note, we didn't hear that full conversation, even though the way they cut it, they make it seem like we did. I think they purposely cut around Rachel and Han Sung-Yu's conversation, because he's like, this is your last chance. And she's like, huh? He's like, yeah, if you want to reach the top of the tower, this is your last opportunity. So, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. What that necessarily means, what the rest of that conversation is, we'll have to wait and see. But, you know, I like, because they do deceptively make it seem like that's all there is to the conversation. But there is more to that. So it's going to be interesting to find out what they discussed. It's also going to be interesting to see how this final test plays out. Because, once again, this is like a 3-parter. Which makes perfect sense, because this is a pretty long test. Well, I think a lot of the tests were technically like 2 or 3 parts. So, but yeah, this test has quite a few surprises still in store. I also didn't talk about it, but let's not forget the princess is still making progress. It's like, right, we have to jump down there to get to the testing area. It's like, well, you go ahead, Evan. He's just like, you stupid princess. Once again, he gets shit on by Yuri so much. Poor Evan. So. They're closing in. What kind of effect that will have on the test and stuff like that, once again, we'll have to wait and see. But I'm very excited to see where these next 2 episodes take us. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Until the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, love life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.